So I wanted to do a quick video on changing the pads on my DBA 2014 Nissan GTR. I've got the stock Brembo brakes on the car right now, and obviously they're fantastic brakes. I'm just really sick of the squealing noise that they make. Every time I come up to a stoplight, I get that really loud squealing noise that makes it sound like I'm driving a 1984 Astrovan. And it's just kind of embarrassing coming to stoplights, and I hate having a car that I really like to be seen in, but then coming to a stoplight embarrassed as I come to a stop. So I'm going to try out these PosiQuiet brakes that I heard and read about across the forums. Should be a quieter pad, a less dusting pad, and also a pad with less bite. But driving around town, I'm hopeful that these are going to be good, or good enough. Obviously I still got these brakes that I can throw on if I'm going to track the car, but for regular driving I'd prefer to not make that horrendous squealing sound. So the brakes come completely sealed. These were also very inexpensive. The set for the front and rear were only $120. I can't remember offhand what the Brembo pads cost, but I know it's at least twice, if not several times more than that for the OEM ones. I'm not expecting the same performance out of these, but I am hoping that they're quieter and, again, just around town, bitey enough to be a good alternative for me at the moment. So I've already taken the wheel off. I now am going to turn the steering to the right so that I can get into the caliper here. There's two pins that we're going to pull out and two rods that screw out. Then I should be able to take off the piece that holds the calipers on, slide the calipers out, get the new ones in, and reverse the process and be done. Alright, so I have the wheel facing outward so that I have access to take out the 4 different pieces to remove the brake pads. There's these top and bottom pins. These get tapped out this direction, and then there's these 2 rods in the center that have nuts here on the left side, and then they slide out this way. They're actually captured here on the alternate side, so you don't need to hold them. These just come off and then they'll slip out. This is a strange 13mm size bolt. I'm not sure. Typically things are 12 or 14 or even numbers, but make sure you have a 13mm socket for removing the nuts on this side. So for the pins, I have a couple of different hammers. It's important not to scratch the finish of the caliper. You can see, maybe you can, have a little dent here from where I once hit it. So I got it started with that, and then I use a punch or something similar just to, again, try to push it all the way through. You could probably channel lock grab it on this side. I like to get it out as far as possible first. Then this centerpiece is actually a spring that's putting tension on both this top pin and this middle rod. So once you have one free, then the other becomes available pretty easily. So with those pieces out now, I'm going to put pressure on the pad to move the 3 pistons that are on each side outwards so that there's room for the next pad. These pads have about 3/4 or more life on them, so they're already pretty spaced out, but I just kind of slowly put pressure on them to work the pistons back. Once you do that, they slide out. With the wheel off, this is also a good time to clean the caliper. A lot of the brake dust that you aren't able to usually wash when the wheels are on the car. I also use this as an opportunity to wash my wheel really well. I try to wash the barrel every time, but this way, having the wheel on the outside, you can get a good clean wash and even wax the inside, since it's not too frequently that I'm pulling off all 4 wheels. I also like to use some of this disc brake quiet from CRC on the parts of the pad that are going to be touching other metal parts, like the plate in the back that interacts with the 3 pistons, as well as some of the edges that hit the bottom side of the caliper. So with the new pads back in, the installation process for the hardware is the same as it came out. You get the clips placed here and have the rod and the pin go through, and that's it. Then you get the wheel back on to the car and move on to the next one. And all 4 wheels are pretty much the same. On the back 2 wheels, obviously you can't rotate the wheel out, so the axis isn't quite as easy as it is on the front, but there's enough space back there that you can get a wrench and a hammer to tap pins out and back in, of course. A little trickier on the back, but again, the process is the same. So that's all there is to it. I'm going to finish up all 4 wheels, go for a ride. I'm also going to bed in these brakes in an effort to even further make them quiet, because that's the main goal here. And then also just curious if they do bite enough for such a heavy car just driving around town. All right, so I've put about 1,000 miles on the car, and I'm really happy with the performance of these brakes. Around town, on the highway, and through the city, they seem to be just as bitey as the Brembos. I'm sure on a track they wouldn't perform at all, or at least not nearly as well as the Brembos. And when I take the car to the track, I'm putting the Brembos back on, but around town, they're absolutely silent. They don't make any squealing sound coming to a stop, and that was my biggest concern, or my biggest complaint with the Brembos. Is as good as they just were so damn noisy that it was embarrassing coming to stops. So happy with the way that they perform around town. They also dust quite a bit less, which is a nice add, because the Brembos always had the black rims looking almost a purple color with as much dust as they put on the rims almost immediately. So anyway, if you're looking for a quiet pad around town and on the highway, this seems to be a pretty good solution. I'll put a link to the pads that I bought in the description below. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.